Lawyers of Reddit, what is the dumbest thing your client has ever done? Attorney servant of process, this is Jen from Judge Grumpy Face's office. Your client, who I see is charged with harassing phone calls, left us 87 messages over the weekend. The judge would like a word with you. You see, Your Honor, I couldn't be the one harassing my ex because I spent my weekend harassing you. She has a restraining order on you. You absolutely cannot contact her anymore. They moved in together. Judge was determining if a defendant qualified for a public defender. Judge: Sir, do you have any income? Defendant: Yes, Your Honor. Judge: From what source do you have income? Defendant: Selling drugs, Your Honor. This happened in Illinois, and the defendant was not under oath. When I was sitting for appointments one time, a defendant said, hustling, as his source of income. Added. Everyone in the courtroom laughed a little, even the judge. My dad was a lawyer in the Navy. One of his first big cases was defending a guy accused of falling asleep at his post during Vietnam. My dad was all psyched, delivering what he thought was well-prepared defense to the judge. The judge interrupted him, telling him to turn around and wake up his client. Your Honor, the defense apparently rests. My all-time favorite is a client I had who was charged with driving under the influence, who wanted to challenge the charges on the grounds he didn't think he was drunk and the tests was administered improperly. Who appeared at his court hearings rip-roaring drunk. Twice. And then, both times, he got into his car and tried to drive away. And both times, the police promptly stopped him, administered a breathalyzer and charged him with DUI and related offenses. We didn't win that case. Told a client, don't say anything to the police, wait until I get there. Confesses to a crime he wasn't being investigated for. Had a client show up to a child custody hearing high on methamphetamine. When she arrived, she began screaming at the judge and demanding that her no-good death-head baby daddy be drug tested. I took her in the hallway and told her that if the judge ordered a drug test for the dad, he would have to order one for her. End of argument. Not a lawyer here, still in law school, but assisting lawyers with cases. One day, we got involved in a caretaking debate for an old woman. Her daughter and an attorney were declared legal guardians for her, due to dementia and her high age. Her niece got us involved questioning the motives of the daughter as an assigned legal guardian. Long story short, her motives were definitely questionable. She stole thousands of dollars and even her mom's vacuum cleaner and silver cutlery, which resulted in the poor woman eating with her fingers, and the case seemed to be a piece of cake for us. Then the niece, our client, took the old lady away to a senior citizen home to guarantee she was taken care well of. Her intentions were gold. Unfortunately, daughter and attorney were still legal guardians and had the right to determine the place of residence. In the end, our client was charged with kidnapping and we lost the case. Moral of the story: don't ever do anything case related before talking to your lawyer. Seriously. Don't. Accidentally admitted to the crime in his direct examination. Facepalm. Not my client, but I was on the prosecutor's side when a defendant failed to appear for court. His attorney can't reach him, nobody know where he is, so we all sit there for about half an hour, until the judge gets sick of it and moves on with the docket. We found out later that day that the defendant decided to rob a 7-Eleven the night before and was sitting in jail 2 counts over when he should have been in court. While driving, he saw a woman wearing only a bra. Distracted, he crashed his car. He sued the woman, and we were about to win the case before he decided to make the woman try on the bra to prove that it was hers. The woman was wearing a leotard at the time, and so the bra didn't fit. I mean, of course a bra's not going to fit on over a leotard. A bra's got to fit right up against a person's skin. Like a glove. Fortunately I was not the attorney in question, but guy is convicted of some traffic related offense, loses his driver's license, effective immediately, gets in the car and drives home. Along with his lawyer. So I'm a law student, but I work at a volunteer desk that helps people complete the forms for court. The awful part is I can't give any legal advice since I'm not a lawyer, which means I can't tell these people they don't have a case. However, the stories are great. They're the lady who sues celebrities. She asked me to help her sue Robert De Niro. Someone else helped her with a suit for Matthew McConaughey. She was doing it on behalf of her kids and their fathers for in excess of $100 million. She didn't even know how to spell their names. Then, there's the guy who is suing DirecTV, CNN, Fox, and who knows who else. Apparently, he's the one you have to thank for putting color on your TV shows and adding animation. He was suing because they hadn't paid him. Ever. Finally, there's a lady who is suing her former employer for giving her too much money on her last paycheck. She told me they did it because they liked her and wanted her to come back. There was maybe $60 extra on the check. She was suing for $10,000. My law teacher would tell stories about a juvenile court he used to work in one of the more questionable areas of California. Apparently they had a real problem with defendants coming in with sagging pants and court officials showing up in beach clothes. The judge finally got so fed up with it that he kept a box of rope for an impromptu belt and a box of neckties behind his desk, and he'd begin court proceedings by lobbing ample amounts of both over his stand at anyone he felt was in need of them. I worked for the public defender's office and met a client in jail for a lineup that he had adamantly demanded regarding a crime with multiple witnesses. I met the client for the first time in a separate room to let him know how it would go down and what to expect. This is the kind of lineup you traditionally see on television, where there are a number of similar looking people standing shoulder to shoulder in front of mirrored glass. They pull the people for the lineup from the jail population, and despite their best efforts this is not a huge population. I walk in to meet the client and he has a sty on his left lower eyelid the size of a golf ball. It was the most identifiable mark on a human's face I have ever seen. He still demanded the lineup and was identified instantly by every single witness without a shred of doubt in their mind. He still demanded a trial and the sty was gone by the time the trial commenced. Not a lawyer but a legal secretary. It's illegal to kill crocodiles in Australia, so our client filmed himself and his friends doing it. Funnily enough, they got caught. Going to be kind of hard to disprove a video that clearly shows the animal being killed and subsequent celebration. Plus photos with the carcass. What a dummy. Another guy robbed the pub he worked for, stole the work car, drove to the city, went straight to the casino, parked the work car in the lot, lost $10,000 playing blackjack, then bought $2,500 hookers and was entertaining them when the cops arrested him. Classic. There are probably others, but I've been doing this for 10 years so they've all blurred together. People are dumb. Story from a friend of mine: he was defending a guy in court. Don't remember what he was charged with. The main witness for prosecution was on the stand and was asked if she could identify the defendant. She was scanning the courtroom and seemed confused. My friend was already silently celebrating because if she couldn't identify him, he could probably get all charge dropped. As he was mentally adding this case to the win file, he happened to glance over at his client, who had just helpfully raised his hand to make it easier for her to identify him. Even the judge facepalmed on that one. I'm not a lawyer, but the optometrist that I went to had an officer manager that was marking on people's accounts that they got refund checks and crediting the balance, then cashing them herself. She took $50,000 in a year and got caught. When asked why she did it, she said, "No one told me I couldn't." During a divorce, the ex-husband claimed that he didn't make much or any money and wasn't able to pay the child support we were asking him to pay. A few hours after receiving this information, he posts a picture on his public Facebook of a wad of cash, talking about how ballin' he was. Needless to say, his claim didn't hold up after that. I used to represent patients who were involuntarily committed because of a mental illness, so I wouldn't describe them as dumb, but still. Clark. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Client. No, this happened a dozen different times. I am not a lawyer, but this worked out super well for me. I was hit by this 65-year-old drunk lady, who also happened to be on methadone at the time. The cops knew her husband, who was a firefighter, and so they didn't breathalyze or do any tests, and did not charge her with DUI. My EMTs had said that lady is so drunk, she's going to buy you a ticket to Disney World, which is how I knew that she was drunk at the time of the accident. But I had no proof to bring to the table in the lawsuit, because if the cops didn't charge or make notes, then you cannot add it later. So we get to my deposition and she shows up. She argues with me the entire time over my points and her lawyer keeps having to tell her that she needs to be quiet. Mind you, this lady had ruined my friends and my lives. So I was becoming less than patient with her calling me a liar when she got off scot-free. She exclaims to my lawyer even the police report is wrong. What do you mean it's wrong? It has me coming from the wrong place. Where were you coming from? My friend's bar. Double quote, really? Did you have any drinks at this bar? Well yeah. How many? I don't know, they don't charge me, they just keep refilling my glass. Cue her lawyer's face palm as this is all on tape. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want more. Talking Bot.